Someone actually said to me, this is the best time to be a woman in Singapore.
Let's get going.
Being called a tough lady? Well, I think if you're a woman and you're in leadership, get prepared to be called that a lot. Just smile sweetly, carry on, don't waver.
For one thing, when you want equality, you've got to exhibit the same kind of leadership skills as men.
For my batch, there were only 2 of us. So we made sure that our voices were very loud, even in Parliament.
I think all women in Singapore has to be tough, and all women leaders have to be tough. To the mothers and the daughters amongst the MPs, it's a lot of demand for our time and also to our family.
PAP women are tough? Well, there is a Chinese expression, 刚中带柔, which means that beneath the steely exterior, there is a tenderness, which I think aptly describes our Singaporean women.
We started the Women's Wing in 1989. So we were dealing with the issues women faced in the 1980s, and our executive committee decided to map out where women stood in those days. So we published actually 2 books on women in Singapore, chronicling what they were doing, the issues they were facing, the struggles, and what need to be provided to them, and then how they were advancing in various professions.
You were asking about the role of women and how it has changed over the last 35 years. I think it has changed dramatically. We now see a lot of women in leadership roles, which is a great thing to happen, but it's never enough, right?
Women has its unique requirements. Like it or not, we're different. We're different physically, we're different physiologically, we're different emotionally.
Many women of my generation felt that there were great career opportunities, but at the same time, we wanted to start families and also to enjoy motherhood.
What we have achieved is actually over this last 20-25 years, the most visible thing is that the number of women in Parliament has increased so tremendously. When we started, 1984, we were only 3 women.
One of my focus was actually to raise female representation in Parliament. It was really quite a tough exercise for us. And if we believe in speaking up for women, then we need to be good examples ourselves and to step forward to do just that.
I'm an SG baby, so I grew up with Singapore. I think my generation sort of signifies the shift. But it's not just about, talking about having more women in Parliament, but really creating an environment that we identify, we nurture them, and we actually show them the ropes. I champion, for example, for board diversity, more women represented on boards. If there are more board members, naturally, they will think about issue about HR system, the developmental system, how do we allow women to have access to opportunity in the corporate world. I believe that's really a catalyst that is necessary for us to really create a more equal system for women in the workplace.
In 2022, the women MPs came together to move a motion in Parliament, and it was the first time ever that Parliament debated women's development. During those months following the debate, that at events, sometimes it would be men who came up to me and said that, thank you for moving that motion in Parliament. And I said, oh, you noticed? And they said, yes, of course, because we have daughters. And we believe it's important to build a Singapore that works for them too.
One of the causes that's very close to my heart is combating online harms. I think that this is something where we have made some strides, both in terms of legal changes, but also in terms of mobilizing the ground to help people grow awareness, particularly young women and girls, on how they can protect themselves.
My advice to future women is to be alive and as far as possible to take gender out of the equation, because sometimes I think we focus too much on gender, whereas it may not necessarily be a difference at all.
Singapore is built by people who came here to seek a better life. This means a certain resilience, a certain optimism, and I see this in the history of women's development in Singapore. So I would say that confidence is something that is part of Singapore women's identity. And I want to say to young women, believe in yourself. You are enough. You are more than enough. You can do it.
Happy birthday to the Women's Wing. You have done great in the past, and I think you will do great work also in the future. Just stay being a movement of women for all women in Singapore.
To all the activists that are out there supporting us unconditionally and with all your hearts and minds, I'd like to say a big thank you.
Thank you, comrades, for being the wind beneath our wings.
Happy 35th anniversary Women's Wing. May you continue to make a difference to enthuse fellow women all around Singapore.
Happy 35th anniversary to the PAP Women's Wing.